One kingdom stands against an abyss from the ends of the earth. This is the prelude to the Battle of Mohi, the night the kingdom of Hungary was broken. In the spring of 1241, the elite knights of Hungary, Europe's most feared heavy cavalry, face an impossible number. They believe they have the advantage, protected by a high riverbank and a fortress of iron-bound wagons. Yet, by the time the sun sets on the Mohi heath, the royal army will lie in pieces, the king will be a hunted fugitive, and the ground will be choked with the ashes of civilization. You are about to witness the most ruthless tactical trap in history. The Knight General Subutai turned a kingdom's strength into its own noose. This is the Battle of Mohi. The night Hungary was broken. The midnight air is biting, thick with the scent of wet pine and the nervous stamping of horses. Prince Kalman and Archbishop Ugrin Chak watch the narrow timber of the Sajó Bridge. They have been warned of a coming shadow by a desperate runaway. Suddenly, arrows hiss from the darkness. The Mongol vanguard is crossing under the cover of night. Kalman bellows the order to charge. The bridge becomes a slaughterhouse of splintering wood and splashing bodies as the elite Hungarian knights hurl the invaders back into the dark current. For a fleeting moment, they believe they have won the day and saved the West. The Hungarian camp erupts in triumph. They have held the crossing and weathered the storm. But this victory is a shimmering illusion, a mask designed to lull the weary. As the knights return to their tents to celebrate, leaving only a token guard at the bridge, they fail to realize that the true architect of their destruction is only now beginning his work. They have retreated into a cage of their own making, assuming the Mongols fight by the honorable rules of old Europe. They sleep while the predator watches from the ridges, calculating the exact cost of their arrogance. From a high ridge, General Subutai, a man who has conquered more territory than Alexander, watches the campfires with detached, clinical interest. He does not feel anger at the knight's repulse. He feels only the satisfaction of a strategist who has finally fixed his prey in place. He has calculated the river's depth, the weight of the knight's mail, and the precise speed of his engineers. To him, this isn't a battle for glory. It is a mathematical process of total annihilation. He signals his commanders. The diversion has worked, and the main act is about to begin. While the Hungarians celebrate, 30,000 Mongol horsemen move in a silent, suffocating arc through the dark. Subutai leads them south, into terrain the Magyars deemed impassable. His engineers, masters of the 7 sciences of war, work with a terrifying efficiency that defies the era. They construct a makeshift bridge of timber and skin in the pitch black, crossing deep waters where the Hungarians never thought to look. By the time the moon sets, the noose is already tightening around the sleeping royal army. They are crossing the deep water, moving like ghosts behind the Hungarian lines. Inside the camp, King Béla IV wrestles with a fractured kingdom. He has spent years alienating his nobles, reclaiming lands and forcing them to stand in his presence as a show of absolute power. Many of his counts arrived with minimal retinues, secretly hoping for the king's humiliation on the field of battle. Worse, the Cuman light cavalry, the only force capable of matching Mongol speed, has fled the kingdom in a rage after their leader was murdered by a mob in Pest. Béla stands alone, a king of stone in a world made of fire and shadow. Dawn brings no warmth, only a grey shroud of fog that masks the movement of the horde. The Hungarian bridge guards squint through the haze and see massive multi-wheeled towers rolling toward the far bank. These are oxbow engines, improved Chinese siege crossbows, capable of hurling javelins and heavy stones nearly 800 meters. The air is suddenly filled with iron vessels that scream like demons and explode with the force of a falling star. This is the thunder crash, a weapon the Latin West has no name for and no defense against. The world begins to burn. The explosions aren't just killing men, they are shattering the spirit of the Hungarian army. Gunpowder-filled iron pots rain down, turning the riverbank into a furnace of sulfur and flame. The horses, terrified by the noise and fire, begin to bolt, trampling their own riders in the chaos. The Hungarian guards at the bridge are suppressed by a barrage of field artillery they cannot reach. Under this umbrella of fire, Batu Khan orders his light cavalry to gallop across the bridge once more. This time, there is no wall of steel to meet them, only smoke and terror. The bridge guard retreats in disarray, blinded by smoke and scorched by naphtha fire. Batu Khan's central pressure is relentless, pouring thousands of archers across the Sajó. Inside the wagon laager, the alarm is finally raised. King Béla wakes to a world that sounds like it is ending. Archbishop Ugrin reproaches the king in public for him to lead the men. The knights finally mount, but they are cramped within their own circle of wagons, struggling to form a line while arrows whistle overhead. The very defense they trusted has become a bottleneck for their own cavalry. The Hungarian heavy cavalry finally charges forth from the laager. It is a magnificent, terrifying sight. Thousands of armored men and horses, a forest of lances leveled at the Mongol center. For a brief, desperate period, it seems the sheer physical power of Europe might prevail. Batu's center begins to buckle under the weight of the steel wall. The Khan himself is in the thick of the melee, losing 30 bodyguards as the knights drive deep, nearly pushing the Mongols back into the river. But this is the final moment of hope before the dark reality of the trap. Just as the Hungarians believe they have reached the breaking point of the horde, a new sound rises from the south. Thousands of Mongol banners emerge from the tree line behind the camp. Subutai has completed his secret crossing. The pincer snaps shut with mechanical precision. The Hungarians, caught in the middle of their own charge, realize with a cold dread that they are no longer the attackers. They are now the surrounded, pinned between the flooded river and an army they cannot see. The predator has lunged, and the teeth are sinking into the throat of the kingdom. The world inside the wagon laager becomes a storm of fire. The roar of the Mongol catapults is relentless, a barrage that turns the Hungarian camp into a slaughterhouse. The knights surge forward, trying to break the encirclement, but every charge is met with a wall of whistling arrows that find every gap in their mail. Subutai has turned the Mohi heath into a butcher's block. The Hungarians are pinned between their burning wagons and the reach of the Mongol bows. There is no room to maneuver, no space to breathe, only the relentless rain of iron and flame. The smell of sulfur and roasted earth fills the lungs of the dying. Every noble, every bishop, and every veteran of the Crusades realizes the hopelessness of the situation. The king's royal standard sways in the thick smoke, a symbol of a collapsing order. They are facing an enemy that treats war as a science, using signals and flags to coordinate movements they cannot comprehend. The pride of the Arpad dynasty is being methodically dismantled in the mud. For the first time in centuries, the Knights of the West feel truly and utterly powerless against the East. The line finally begins to buckle under the pressure. But then, a miracle appears. A gap in the Mongol line to the west. It is a clear path to safety, a way back to the walls of Pest. Thousands of soldiers, broken by the fire and the noise, throw down their banners and run for the opening. But this is the final, most cruel deception of the campaign. Subutai has left the gap open on purpose, the open lane tactic of the ancients. Fleeing men do not fight, they only die. The path to safety is actually the road to the grave. As the Hungarians pour through the gap, the Mongol horse archers do not close the distance for a melee. They ride alongside the fleeing mass, picking off the exhausted men like cattle. The retreat becomes a massacre that stretches for miles across the plain. The heavy knights, exhausted and weighed down by their own steel, are cut down in the marshes and woods. Prince Kalman falls, mortally wounded. The archbishop vanishes in the press. The road to the heart of Europe is now wide open, slick with the blood of the men who were meant to defend it. The massacre is methodical and cold. The Mongols are not interested in booty yet. They are focused on the total eradication of any remaining resistance. They collect 9 sacks of ears from the fallen to count the dead. A grim tally of the night Hungary was broken. The Sajó River runs dark and red, clogged with the wreckage of the wagon laager and the pride of a nation. 1/4 of the kingdom's population is dead, and for a year, the Kingdom of Hungary will simply cease to exist as a functioning nation. The storm has arrived in full. Master Rogerius, hiding in the forests, writes of a land where the only sound is the crying of children and the crackle of burning villages. The Mongols ravage the Great Plain, turning a thriving kingdom into a graveyard. They chase King Béla across the Carpathians and down to the shores of the Adriatic, determined to capture the last living symbol of the state. He flees from fortress to fortress, a ghost in his own land, watching from the sea as the horizon glows with the fire of his burning cities. The kingdom is gone, replaced by a wasteland. The Mongols reach the coast, but they find something they cannot easily break: the stone walls of the Dalmatian fortresses. They besiege Clis and Trogir, but their horses find no footing on the steep rocks, and their arrows find no purchase in the stone. Suddenly, news arrives from the east of the great Khan's death. The storm recedes as quickly as it arrived, as the princes return to the steppes to choose a new leader. They leave behind a ruined, silent landscape, but they leave the king alive. It is a mistake that will change the course of history. King Béla IV returns to a kingdom in ashes. He looks at the charred remains of the wooden and earthwork forts that failed his people and makes a radical decree. He abandons the royal monopoly on castle building, ordering the nobility and the cities to build what the Mongols could not break: a kingdom of stone. From these ruins, he initiates the second foundation. He invites masons from the west and engineers who have studied the Mongol ways to fortify the land. He realizes that natural barriers are no longer enough. Only stone and resolve can hold the line. On the high, defensible hills of Buda, Visegrad, and Diosgaur, stone citadels begin to rise, walls that no thunder crash can shatter and no horseman can bypass. He reorganizes the army, focusing on specialized crossbowmen and heavily armored knights, supported by stone strongpoints. This victory for the Mongols would be spoken of for 1,000 years, but the resilience of the defeated became the true legacy. The night at Mohi was the death of a medieval dream, but it was the birth of a nation that would never break again. The shield of the West was forged in the fire. History is written in both blood and stone, and the hard-won lessons of the Sajó River still echo through the centuries today. If you felt the immense weight of the past in this story, help us bring more legendary battles and forgotten heroes to life. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel to join our community of history enthusiasts. Your support keeps this cinematic journey moving forward and ensures these stories are never forgotten. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next chapter of our journey through time.